Hello and welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Nina Adio, a social media marketing expert specific to the wedding industry. On this show, I discuss tips to help you DIY your social media, as well as getting the confidence and income to outsource it. Thank you for allowing this episode to come through on your Bluetooth, your car radio, wherever it may be you're listening from today. Now, let's take your wedding business to the next level. Welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. If you are a wedding professional or wedding service provider looking to learn more about marketing your business on digital media, then you are in the right place. Thank you for being here. We have a fun interview today. This is my first time interviewing two guests, but even better, they are sisters, and you are going to learn so much from the ladies behind Hustle and Gather. So in this conversation with Courtney Hopper and Dana Kadwell, we're talking about marrying gratitude with marketing. But what you are really going to resonate is their story and how they started. They really went as just two sisters who were exposed to weddings through shopping for a venue and then realized, wouldn't it be nice to own a venue? And they took the steps to get to that point. And now the end result is what they're doing. They have several brands that have got them there, which they call their hustles. C&D Collective, that's their wedding planning company. The Bradford, which is their luxury venue, and the Anthem House, which is their luxury wedding planning. So there's a lot you're going to be able to relate to here. And because they've done it all, they are able to service you in a way that maybe others can't. So they have courses you can purchase online about strategic planning, finding the perfect employee, the interview process. Because if you are in the hospitality business, you know how hard it can be to find an employee. So I wanted to call that out here right at the beginning. And they offer that in addition to their consultation services. So Hustle and Gather's website is going to be in the show notes below. But I hope you're feeling excited because there's so much that we're going to talk about regarding not only marketing, but the journey to getting to the place where these ladies are at today. My computer, my Zoom service, something, there's a little bit of breakup every now and then in the audio, but the value is there. So please just keep trucking along because we edited as best we could. And I didn't find that it took away from the interview and the value that is in this episode. So let's take it away. Hello, ladies. Thank you for being here with me today. We have Dana and Courtney.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, I'm Dana, Courtney. We're so happy to be here.
Yeah, so this is my first time having two guests together, and I love that you guys are sisters. So that is awesome. I have three sisters, and I can't imagine working with them, which I bet you probably hear a lot, or no?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We hear that all the time. It's the number one statement for sure.
Well, I mean, you guys do it all from wedding planning to a venue to consulting others. Hustle and Gather is a result of what I would call serial entrepreneurship, which I relate to so hard. So I thought before we started, I would love if you could tell our audience about Hustle and Gather and your industry experience.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we could start with industry experience. We started C&D events in 2005. We were looking for a wedding venue for Dana to get married at. We did nothing really fit the bill. So one day we were just kind of in the middle of planning. I was like, it would be fun just opening up a wedding venue. And then we decided that we didn't really have any real research or expertise in that area. So any money, right? So we were going to open a wedding planning company as a form of market research to build the best venue. I think Dana thought that is this an E or not an E?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Are we allowed to swear?
For now.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I think Dana thought I was bullshitting at the time, but I think I called her the next day. I was like, hey, I've got our first client, our mom's friend's daughter's getting married, and we're going to plan the wedding. And she was like, oh, you're serious? I was like, I'm serious. So we started C&D events, did that for 5, 6, 7 years, reprised the dream of opening up a venue, found some land, built the Bradford. That's a whole nother story. At that point, C&D was big too big to really close down. We had employees that were working for us. So we're like, all right, we're just going to do both now. And did that for a while. We had a florist business in the middle of all that, rest in peace, that we closed down. And then we started Anthem House, which is our luxury wedding planning line. And then we noticed that a lot of people were asking us questions, and like a lot of the other industry frienders and whatnot would come with like, can you give me advice on XYZ? And we're like, maybe we have marketable information after these 15 or 16 years. And thus began Hustle and Gather.
Yeah, and we really just had a passion for, honestly, it was more speaking, I think, is what kind of propelled us into it, and helping other entrepreneurs. And really, truly, our heart is women, and, you know, we're moms, and we understand the growth of that. And we recognize that, you know, a lot of people are like, how do you do it? How do you do it? And we do, we have families and we have a thriving business, and just really encouraging people that it's possible to do it. So that's kind of like what started it. And then started enjoying like the consulting, and you know, we have a really amazing venue, and I think a lot of it's due to our team. So what we talk a lot about is, you know, that company culture and building those teams.
Wow. So I love this, how this just started from saying pretty much, wouldn't it be cool to own a venue? And then look how far you guys took that. Wow. So kind of like dreaming together and making it happen together, which is beautiful. I feel like this is a Hallmark sister story. I just love it. Like, right? You're thinking maybe more Bravo reality TV with this.
I don't know. It's somewhere between Hallmark and Lifetime. I mean, it's not all Lifetime. No one's pushing anyone down the stairs, but it's not all Hallmark, you know. So
it has its moments for sure.
And the Bradford is absolutely beautiful. To those listening, I'll put the Instagram for the Bradford in the show notes, just so you can see the venue. It's the Bradford NC on Instagram, but really fantastic, and really cool to hear about how that came to be. And Dana, you started to get into your company culture a bit. And I know today we're going to be talking about marrying gratitude with marketing. So I'm wondering, at what point did you realize that gratitude was an integral part of not only a successful business or businesses, but part of the company culture as well?
Yeah, I think that it was pretty early on in like doing wedding planning. I think we didn't realize how thankless the job really was. And we had great clients for sure. And I've never been someone that said I needed a thank you to like do my job. But there is something about recognizing and realizing that everyone needs to feel appreciated. It is just an inherent need to feel like what you're doing matters. And so I think once we kind of like made that realization, we realized that it doesn't just extend to us as planners, but to like our entire vendor team, like really taking the time to recognize the hard work that they put into putting that event together, and, you know, being grateful for all that they helped, you know, make this event amazing. And then it trickled down to recognizing, well, if this client never trusted me, never believed in me, then we would have never had these opportunities. I would have never been able to do this amazing creative thing. And it kind of just snowballed into recognizing how much the whole experience from like the business side of it, right? And how much more fulfilling and happy and just less burnt out you feel when you feel like what you're doing matters, and recognizing that's something that's just not, that's something that is super lacking in our industry, that we're just supposed to be these robots doing this job. And a lot of times it felt so transactional, like it was like, give me your money, I'm going to do this thing. And there was just none of that like kind of emotional connection to the clients, the vendors. And we just really wanted that to change.
I appreciate that, because when I think about gratitude, I think about it as a very kind of internal thing, like, oh, I need to be kind of expressing gratitude in my journal every morning for, you know, what I have, but I'm not thinking about gratitude as showing it to others and expressing it to others. So I like that you're getting that, you know, establishing that as part of what you express with your vendors, to your team, even to your clients. So how do you feel gratitude plays a role when we're directly working with customers and clients, and through that client journey that we go through?
Well, I think when you prioritize gratitude in your culture and on your team, the clients feel that, because you have, happier employees, people that feel purposeful in what they're doing. And I think that definitely comes across to the client. And but also, like, let's be honest, like if it weren't for clients, none of us would be in business. So there is like an inherent gratitude that you have to have when you are in a client facing service type industry, because without those clients, you would not be in said industry. So I think somehow letting them know that you are thankful that they, chose you, picked you, or even took the time to inquire with you, give you a shot, I think it's important in that client journey relationship.
Yeah, what's like super interesting about gratitude, because we've done some like research on it just to kind of, because we talk about it often, is how, like, and I mentioned before, how important it is for us to feel like what we're doing matters. But honestly, it's a physical response. Like it actually makes people healthier. Like we are healthier beings when people are expressing gratitude to us. And so I mean, just right off the bat, right? Like if I have a planner that feels satisfied in their job, is feeling like they're like, we're expressing gratitude to them, that they're appreciated. Not only are they going to be, they're going to love their job, they're going to love that client interaction, they're going to go probably above and beyond for that client, but they're just going to be a healthier person. They're going to be, like, you're more rested, right? You have less stress, less anxiety, your heart rate stays down. Like all of these things allows them to do their job better than if they were in a state of stress or they didn't get as much sleep the night before, right? And it sounds super trivial, but gratitude really affects so many things, just from the mental state to the physical state of people.
It's so important and so true, because I'm sure anyone listening, take yourself to a place anytime in your job history of when you felt appreciated by an employer and when you didn't. Or it doesn't even have to be employer, a team, a group project, right? In school, who's experienced being the one who has to do all the work and none of the other students care. You get really, you don't feel good,
Right.
I remember once a boss
Right.
gave me a thank you, just like a holiday card, but in it she wrote, "I'm so thankful we met." And that just made me feel so good. And I kept the card because it just made it feel like what I was doing mattered just that little bit more. So I really love that.
I think it makes you feel like a human.
Yes. Yes. And you know what?
Like it humanizes that relationship.
Yeah, especially in the world that with ChatGPT, let's tap into the human connection and the human appreciation and that. What I want to
Right.
ask now is, that we've established a bit more about gratitude. How do you feel that can be expressed and worked into one's marketing?
I mean, kind of going back to what Courtney said, I think it's to be human, to be real. And I think this is I struggle a lot with this, probably. I don't know if it's my age. I mean, technically I'm a millennial, but I grew up saying I was Gen X, but getting on social media and being yourself and just literally just saying the words, thank you, I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for this client or this vendor, kind of doing those shout outs, I think, are super helpful. But I really think it's just being real. It's being honest, because I also feel like gratitude sometimes, when it's done incorrectly, it comes across as demonstrative. It comes across as like, oh, I have to write this thank you note because it's part of my marketing plan. And it's very disingenuous and people can feel it. So to me, I always say, don't hold back. You should always say thank you when you feel it, but you also shouldn't just assume because this person worked at this wedding that you should always be expressing gratitude to every single person, especially if someone didn't necessarily do the job super well. It's not like you have to bash them. It's not that you have to be like, you don't deserve a thank you, but it's not genuine. So think about what it is that you are genuinely grateful for and be real about it. And it could be as simple as, I'm so grateful that this florist really understood this color pink that I wanted for this flower, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be this massive thing, and doesn't have to be cookie cutter, like, oh, I'm so grateful that you did a great job on that wedding. It's like, no, like, what was it about it? Like, what was it that made you feel in your heart, like, grateful for that person? What was that specific thing? And really being real about it. And then kind of going back to when you're talking to your clients, like giving your clients the shout out, like giving them the credit, like saying after they book, like, thank you so much for trusting me. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you. And after a great meeting, like, oh my gosh, I had the best time with these clients. I can't wait for their day. Like, I don't know, just not being afraid to be real, not being afraid to say, you know, how you feel.
I have a question for you guys relating to that, because sometimes, so I once, when I was starting off at in-house for venues, they would get reviews in that were positive, but they would name people by name, and the owners were concerned that if that person left, then that review had that person's name, and they wouldn't want it shared. But on my end, as someone doing the social media, I like to shout out the team and express that gratitude not only for the team but for the bride and groom or the host, whoever it was that called out that team member, because I really like to try to celebrate everybody. So what do you recommend doing in situations like that? Do you think I should hold back, or is it something that I should go for in spotlight?
Like one of the things that we've done on social media is for like our C&D events team, they have their own, each person has their own social media presence, right? So it's like for us, like Sterling at C&D events or Sterling Collective, I can't exactly remember what the name is for her, but what we would do on the master kind of marketing C&D portion is we would say Sterling at C&D events, like tag her social, tag C&D social, did such an amazing job on this event and blah, blah, blah. So it shows up kind of like on both places. And then in the event that that person leaves, it's still there that it was related to your company and the team did it. And I think also when you're talking about executing an event or you're talking about, like designing, or it is always a team effort, right? So like that person is part of the team and it's the company that puts it on. There's lots of infrastructure that goes into making that happen. So I think also just acknowledging that, she was a lead, but there is also a team backing her up. So,
Well, and I think it's just, I think as a boss, it's hard. It's hard when you have an employee that you had on your team and maybe they left for, it wasn't a positive split,
Yeah.
right? Because that's when you're really worried about it, right? You're worried about it when it wasn't a positive split. And there is a lot of humbling that has to happen as an owner, because I totally think it is a wonderful thing to put a human face to the team. I think you drop names, and you can drop names because I think it allows people to recognize that there is a human behind this event that is working this event. They are a real person. They have real feelings, real emotions. This is not just this corporation or this company that is taking all my money for my wedding or whatever. These are real people. But when you have a client, employee that you had to let go, and we've had it, people are like, well, there's this person has been like shouted out on X amount of reviews. I would like them to be my person. And you're just like, we loved them. They decided to go on to different opportunities, and but we have someone that is amazing. And there is a part of humble pie where you have to talk positively about that person, even if you don't want to. Right. Even if you don't want to say like they were great and wonderful, but to that client, to that event, they were great and wonderful. And they do deserve that appreciation and gratitude because they created that great review. They created that experience that has this person coming in and bringing more business to you. So it's definitely a little bit, to me, I 100%, you should give it a name to a human, to the business. And as a business owner, you just have to look at it and know how to respond to those things in a way that is positive, not negative.
I like it. Kind of, to me, it's letting the gratitude remain for what they did, and maybe you don't have to apply that to how they left or what they're doing now, but keep the gratitude for what they did and the work they did while they were doing it, and try to just cancel out or not focus on the rest. Because sometimes as a business owner, I think the example I was thinking of, they had gotten burned, and the result of it, I think, became a lack of gratitude for the current team because they were so overwhelmed with fear. So to somebody in that situation, beyond reviews and names being called out, but somebody who's been burned, what would you recommend to help them get into the mindset of gratitude towards their team, in their marketing, and towards the industry as a whole?
Yeah. Well, we've definitely been burned, and it made us rethink our contracts going forward, right? Like talking about what is the company's intellectual policy? What does it look like from the very beginning when you decide to part ways? So I think there's a little bit of a learning curve there where you're protecting yourself from that future burn. But I think kind of like thinking through, like, again, like doing like the double tag, making sure that your company is tagged in all of those things. Make sure that you talk globally about the team, about the organization, as well as the person. So don't make it just person specific. So there is still value to the caption or to that review or to whatever it is when that person leaves, because no one's staying forever, right? Like, unless you're the business owner and you're like going down with the ship, you're going to have turnover and you're going to have new people. People are going to outgrow positions and life is going to change. So you need to think about that as a business owner from the beginning. What are you going to put in place? Not if, but when that happens.
And it's definitely, to me, it's like controlling the narrative is super important as well. Like the one time we got burned the worst is because we allowed that person to control the narrative because we trusted them to spin the right one. And we felt like that was what it felt like it was what we should have done. Like we should have allowed this person to be able to say why they were leaving or whatnot. And it was terrible. Don't ever do that. Like, you should always control the narrative moving forward. But I also feel like when you're looking at it from a perspective of like, how you feel about it is so huge, and where the rest of the industry feels about it is so minor. And I think in my mind, I was like playing this up as like, oh my gosh, like people are going to think XYZ and they have this opinion of me. And I just told myself this story when, if I had just had some conversations with people and it's been real and said like, hey, you know, this is what's going on. And I just want you to know that like we have everything under control. And, you know, this is how we're going to be handling these events this person had. They're like, okay, cool. Like, no problem. Like, didn't think anything of it. And so I think a lot of times, like the idea of like talking to somebody and getting through that is bigger than it actually is. And I really feel like no one's expecting you when you've gotten burned to like, you got burned to be like, oh, I'm so thankful for their time with us. No. It takes time, right? Give yourself some time. And if you can't speak about it positively, then don't speak about it. Keep your mouth shut. Like, the worst thing is you're going to come across as someone who is vindictive and mean and whatnot. So like, if you can't speak positively about it, then don't speak about it. But it took us like probably 6 months to be able to speak positively about that. And that's okay. Like, it's okay, but give yourself the time and then be able to reflect on what went wrong, because it's never just about the employee. There's always there's always some other reason why that went wrong, and be able to own that and then recognize, okay, well, I can be grateful they made me that person made me an amazing manager. And it's true, that person that burned us, I am such a better manager because of that person. And I can say thank you and be grateful for that, because I now have an amazing team because of that person and because I had to go through that.
This is great because I think, you know, on the surface, gratitude's easy to do when everything's going great, you know, but these things, especially as a business owner, things do happen. And that's when I think you really have to focus on the gratitude when it's hard to. And I'm wondering, do either of you have a daily gratitude practice or anything like that?
Yeah. So I don't know if I have a practice, but like I struggle, I think, like personally, like I've always had, like I'm a pretty like emotionally, like probably what you consider an intense person. And so when I feel like the world's falling apart around me, I have to take a pause and say, okay, but this is what's going really well. This is, you know, what I feel like I can lean on and be grateful for the steady things that are in my life. But I think a lot of times, like every time I drive on this property and I look around, I can't help but feel grateful for the life that it has afforded me. And I think as a business owner, a lot of times we are, and I think in social media, it's portrayed this way, like almost like we're martyrs. Like and it's hard. I don't want to, you know, say it's easy. It is hard. But at the same time, you're living like your purpose, your passion, your dream, and you have people that are like helping you live your purpose, your passion and your dream. And certainly not every day is rainbow and butterflies, but I think every day you can take a look and say, like, look what I'm doing. Like, even if it's hard and it sucks and I have to deal with this thing, but like, look what I'm doing. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I definitely think gratitude is more like a mindset than it is, to me, like a practice. I think I say thank you pretty easily, but I do think, getting to Dana's point, it is kind of amazing when you've thought of something and you've built something, you've created it, and then you start hiring these people who have these amazing skills that you never had. They're much better at doing the things that you once did, right? And they decide that they're going to put their time and energy and effort into your thing. Like, it is very humbling, and it creates, if you think about it like that, like an immense amount of gratitude for those people who are, you know, moving your needle forward for you.
Mhm.
Awesome. I'd like to get into something really tangible for people. So say they're listening to this and they're like, okay, I'm going to put more gratitude into my marketing. I'm going to go on Instagram and I am going to do X.
Mhm.
What should they do?
I would say one really easy thing is, when you have great events and your vendors have done great, shout out those vendors.
Mhm.
Nothing says thank you like tagging somebody and you know, championing their work for them, like doing some of the lifting of that marketing for them. I think that says a big thank you.
Yeah. And I think just doing spotlights, like anytime we have a great meeting, a great collaboration, a great exchange, like say, you know, oh my gosh, this person's amazing. Like, can't wait to work with them. And same thing with your clients. You have a great meeting, like just don't be afraid to hop on stories and be like, man, I had like the best, you know, coffee with this client and so stoked. Like, just I think that this is where it's really hard, because a lot of times we think it and we just don't say it. And there's some saying, it was like, it's something like gratitude, like feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's been guilty of that, like, right, where they've, you know, have forgotten to give someone something. And I think that that's what needs to change is, and I think we're afraid, I don't know if we're afraid to like say the wrong thing or whatnot, but just say it. Like, if you feel it, just say it. That's what I always say. Like, if you feel it, you should just say it. Don't hold back about it.
Feel it, say it. I like it. Do you guys feel that working with family helps or hinders the gratitude process?
Ha!
Both?
I don't know. I think it depends on, I think it's seasonal for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that the hard part about family is that you know everything. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you're like, oh, I know what's going on and you're doing this in spite of that. Like, that's pretty cool. Thanks for, you know, doing that. And then sometimes you're just like, I know what's going on. Like, why aren't you doing this? Like, mm-hmm. So I think it goes both ways.
I think too, like, you tend to take things for granted or just assume.
Yeah.
And so I think it comes a little less naturally, I think.
It does. I think it's really true. I think that it's easier to recognize the appreciation in our employees than each other.
Yeah, that you like rely more on the relationship than you do the actions.
Yes.
Because I can't imagine like what it would be like, let's say if you had to run your business without each other, because you've had it with each other, and what a great blessing that is. And a lot of it is probably just, you don't even get to see the alternative because you're fortunate enough to do it together. So that's a great thing. Do you guys have any other siblings?
We have a brother.
We have a younger brother.
Okay.
Not in the business.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other?
He's doing his own thing.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Do you guys have any other recommended resources for continuing to learn about gratitude or even work culture? Because we got into that as well.
I love anything by Brene Brown when you're talking about gratitude. I think she just has a really good handle on what it is and what it does for people. I think that there's a book called Radical Candor by Kim Scott that talks about how to recognize your rock stars and your superstars and support your team in the direction that they want to go, that I think really speaks to gratitude and company culture as well. So I think those would be two good resources.
Great. Now, you guys mentioned a lot of stuff, just really, I think a lot of great back end material of just, you know, like we've been saying, company culture, planning, getting, you know, hiring your team, everything. So what resources do you have for our audience? Because I know you guys just have so much information out there where our listeners can work with you and what they can do with you.
Yeah, Dana's the expert on that. She creates all that, so she can share it with you.
So we just launched a strategic planning workbook, which is super helpful for people that are kind of in that place where they don't quite know what their business path is. I think a lot of entrepreneurs start a business, they don't really understand how to move forward, how to grow, how to scale in a way that's sustainable and responsible. And so this kind of helps really get all of your thoughts and helps you think through some really tough questions, get it down on paper and create a like literal action plans and action items, how to get to your end goal. So we just launched that, which I'm super excited about. It's it's a at your own pace. It's a workbook. So there's not like any video you have to watch. We kind of pace it out for you, give you suggestions on when to complete things and how long it should take, just so you kind of are giving yourself the time and the space for it. And then where we really specialize, and we talked about this before, is like building teams and that company culture. And so we have created this hiring bundle that's launching later this month. But the bundle is broken up into 4 different things, because we also realize some people just want help on interviewing. Some people just want help on understanding who they are. But it's a really neat course where it starts with understanding your values and your mission and how that kind of plays into not only hiring, but into how you're running your company. And then it goes into like finding the right fit for you as a manager, and then who are you as a manager. And that's a hard one, because you have to really look inward and start understanding like where your weaknesses are, where you struggle, but then also recognizing that some things that we thought were weaknesses are actually our superpowers, and really using that to be an amazing manager. And then it goes into very tactical, like here's great questions you need to answer, or questions you need to ask. These are answers you should be looking for in these new hires. So we have that launching, which super stoked about that. And then we run a management workshop 3 times a year, and our next one's in August. So we have one August and November. So if anyone is thinking about hiring and just wants to get a handle on how to manage, it's a wonderful workshop that we do. It runs 5 weeks and it has live sessions as well as some homework stuff. So there's a lot out there that we do to help get you on the right step.
What I love about it is we were talking about kind of past experiences with getting burned and maybe struggles with employees. And it's like, guys, skip that part, learn from somebody else, you know, and get this knowledge, get this information. So will this all be at hustleandgather.com?
Yes, it is. Yep. Under our products. Yep.
I'll put that in the show notes. And now, are you guys ready for some rapid fire questions?
Okay, I hope so.
Yeah. So they're easy, they're fun, and then we can have you each answer, or what answers first, whatever you guys want. But the best weddings have
small guest counts.
That's true. Great cocktails.
Yeah.
That was funny. When I am in the zone, I am listening to
Taylor Swift,
Beyonce.
Ah, both good ones. Both good ones. On a Monday morning, I am drinking
coffee.
Lots of it.
Yeah, any morning. That's what I'm drinking. Cocktail hour or dessert bar?
Cocktail hour.
Cocktail hour, typically, yeah.
And lastly,
I'm not a big dessert person.
Yeah, nobody picks dessert. Nobody. I thought maybe some people would pick it because the cocktail hour is a given, but. And lastly, I am most grateful for.
I would say probably my spouse. I don't know. Like, I think he's a great partner in life.
Probably my life in general. Just like it's a good life. Yeah.
Fantastic. Both good answers. Both good answers. And where can our audience find you, follow you, stalk you?
All the things.
Well, we are all over the Instagram. We have lots of accounts for all of our companies. So at C&D Events, at Anthem.House, at the Bradford NC, at Hustle and Gather. We can find us there.
Similar versions of that for websites, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we all connect.
My pro tip, because I did this, I went to Hustle and Gather first, found all the other ones in the bio of Hustle and Gather, and then that was how I got to them all. So I'll have them linked down below, though, and don't forget to go to hustleandgather.com for all of those.
We should use that.
Yeah. It's the hub. So go to their website to see all of those great programs that they have that you can start working with. And guys, I'm grateful for this chat. Thank you so much.
How fun is that, guys? How many are wishing you could work with a sibling? And how many of you are glad that you don't? Send me a message and let me know the answer to that one. But as mentioned in the beginning, Courtney and Dana's information is going to be in the show notes below, including their website, their Instagram, and LinkedIn's. And you'll also be able to find my information in the show notes too. I am actively posting every Wednesday, guys, so be sure to follow or subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And I will see you next week.